How did I start? How did I begin to recover from anxiety? It all begins on a day in February of last year, February 2023, where I wasn't in a good place. I was having repeat panic attacks. I was having a plethora of anxiety symptoms. I stopped working, in which that affected my self-esteem, and in doing so, my self-esteem being hurt then caused me to go into other destructive and negative things on top of that. Life was truly weighing me down, and it wasn't just affecting me, but it was affecting my family, the people of whom I was, who I live with, my parents. My parents saw me at very, very dark points in which I would say, I distinctly remember having a breakdown, almost like a nervous breakdown over my symptoms. And it was over the fact that I thought my brain was attacking myself. I was having these intrusive thoughts, physical symptoms, these anxious bodily sensations and psychological sensations. And it was ultimately down to the fact that I was not willing to be comfortable in my anxious discomfort. But in that time, in February 2023, I was scrolling YouTube, as I usually did, and I finally found someone with the right information. Normally, if you Google anxiety or, mental health help, they will just tell you to cope with it, to manage it. They will just give you 101 ways to try and alleviate or manage the symptoms. When truly, we want this to end. And this isn't just anxiety. Anxiety is a truly natural and healthy response to the stresses of life. Why it is healthy is because it's telling you something. And especially if you're in a dangerous situation, you want anxiety because that is what keeps you safe. But when an individual experiences anxiety in a completely safe environment, then there's a problem. And that's what we generally call an anxiety disorder. So I had an anxiety disorder that needed to be corrected with the right information. And given the fact I didn't have the right information, I suffered very badly. And so once I found the right information, it was from a man called Sean Kassam, Shankasam. He's a guy in America. And he laid out all of the symptoms. He laid out, truly the mechanics of an anxiety disorder. And it is ultimately what he said. Our recovery is dependent upon the way we respond to it. How do we respond to anxiety when we feel anxious in a completely non-anxious situation? That is truly what makes it for what it is. It is this maladaptive response we have to anxious sensations in which that fuels that anxious sensation. Anxiety is fueled by resistance towards it. And then I found Day Anxiety, Barry McDonough, Michelle Kavanagh. I also found Dr. Harry Barry, and all these other people of whom I was listening to and watching, in which I had watched multiple other people who were talking about anxiety and they were saying good things about it, but they weren't ultimately going down to the root issue, in which I know they probably hadn't gone through an anxiety disorder themselves. If you've gone through an anxiety disorder yourself, which you probably have if you're still watching this video and on my channel, then you know exactly what it's like to be afraid of your own brain when you have these intrusive thoughts and you don't know where they're coming from, and you start fearing these intrusive thoughts. Imagine fearing a thought, and this is really where this Sean Kassam really helped me, because truly the framework of recovery truly is in the way that we respond to our anxious sensations. He tells us, I remember, excuse me, I'm a bit ill. He talks about how we need to learn to not only just embrace it, but learn to respond to it with non-resistance. It is the resistance of the symptoms that makes the symptoms worse in and of themselves. And it is truly in that time where, and in February, I was going through different phases, different seasons, And it was especially afterwards where I was having these experiences, and where I joined back in a training group to get a job. I later, whilst I was doing that, I was doing a bit of an off the box job, a plumbing job with a family friend, and that was really, I felt a lot of anxiety. But what I was being taught, because before, if I felt anxiety, I would stress about it, I would have a panic attack or whatever, and of course I did have those days, but it was different. I was in control of it, because I learned that I ultimately wasn't in control of this anxiety, that I had to learn to let it do what it wants. And ultimately what we read about and what we learn is that we are not at the mercy of forces beyond our control. We're not at the mercies of things beyond our control. And if we can, of course, learn our way out of this maladaptive response, towards anxiety symptoms, then we can make steps to go out there. So guys, hope you've enjoyed this video. So cheers, thanks for watching. See you guys in the next one.